I wanted to find the ultimate Sorare Premier League team no matter what the budget. This is always going to be a mammoth task every time we come around to doing this because it's really for Sorare players that are looking to come into the Premier League competition for the first time or brand new beginner players. Most people start off by playing the Premier League because it's full of household names, players we can watch and we all know something about. And I take that responsibility quite seriously. On the channel, we have helped thousands of Sorare managers all across the world, whether they are starting out or just with day-to-day strategy and living in the game, in the trenches as it were, picking teams and rolling with the punches in the market. And the first thing we had to start with was really, what are the price points? What is the budget? Now, everyone's budget is totally different. So what I did is I just took all the main kind of price points of the players we could really shop in amongst, and I took some of the best players at each price point, and we ended up with this. Now, if your budget's £20, £40, £100, £200, whatever. There's a core 4 players there that you could go and start to build a team around, you know, different variations and combinations and all the rest of it, which is all well and good. These guys will profile them in the video today because I put this out there on Twitter, Instagram, all the social media places at Quinny 3001. And the Sorare scouts and managers from all over the world who know their onions, they know a thing or two about a thing or two. They voted in their numbers for one player per price point, and it told us some fascinating things about the most voted player. And really, do you need to spend one per price point? Do you need to buy all the most expensive players? And you will be so surprised at some of the players that did not get voted in. Now, no matter what your budget is looking to play Sorare, if you're brand new and you haven't opened up your account yet, Sorare are giving away £50, $50, €50, whatever your native currency is, of market credit once you've bought 5 cards from the market. So again, no matter what your budget is, if you're walking into the game with £50, £100, whatever it is, once you've bought 5 cards from the primary market, auctions or instant buys, no matter the price, you get £50 of credit, which, you know, maybe those more expensive players that are on the graph there, if you think they're a wee bit too pricey for you, you then get £50, euros, dollars worth of credit to a max value of £50 on the purchase to use really but how you see fit. So maybe you get a few of those £50 players for £25, £10 player for a fiver, etc, etc. If you haven't opened up your account yet, you're looking to get your hands on that £50, €50, $50 of market credit, there's a link in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. By clicking on that link, you support all the content here at the channel, and I thank you in advance if you do so. If you do get stuck or if you've got any questions or whatever, jump into the comment section and I'll jump in and sort you out. If you check out the channel, I've got all the beginner tutorials and basic explainers of how everything works if you're looking for that more in-depth how to get started tutorial video at any point in this video. But if anyone laughs or learns or likes something or whatever, please do like and subscribe to the channel for more content like this. And yeah, let's just get stuck straight into it. The best place to start is always with the goalkeeper. In my experience of playing Sorare for the last 4 seasons, with goalkeepers, you don't want second best. You want the guy you actually want, you actually believe in, because the goalkeepers will be the difference sometimes between you reaching and really hitting high on the leaderboards and winning money, cards, whatever else is going on in the special weeklies, and not. And you guys seemed to agree as well. Now, sadly, Ivo Grbic didn't get any votes in this. At £10 goalkeeper, fair enough, they're about to be relegated, and the big man hasn't really exactly been lighting the world on fire, but he got absolutely no votes. At half the price, Lucas Fabianski was actually second in the vote, and although he has to kind of jostle with Alfonso Areola, a lot of people believe at £5, Lucas Fabianski bringing these scores in for West Ham at the moment, for the rest of this season certainly anyway, is a fantastic option, second in the voting. And I think with the remaining 3 goalkeepers in here, this really does epitomise what it means buying a goalkeeper on Sorare. The most expensive goalkeeper, Ederson, was, except for Grbic, he got the least amount of votes in this poll. Now, Ederson scores very, very well. But Mark Flecken, who is a third of the price of Ederson, does he score better? I would say he does. But right in the middle of them, Emi Dibu Martinez was the #1 voted goalkeeper on this one. He does seem to have that perfect blend of being able to hit big scores, 70, 80 pluses, as well as not being as expensive as like Ederson at a top team like Aston Villa, who will be in, as things are going at the moment, in Champions League football for next year. Argentina international as well. And Emi Martinez, for me, I think, at limited level at £50 for a goalkeeper, points per pound, it's so hard to look past him. Now, I must confess, we've seen some shocking, not that I'm disagreeing with them, but some shocking results in the defensive stakes as well. The best place to start is with who finished last, which is Virgil van Dijk. Premier League living legend in the making, scores like an absolute hero of a centre-back, finished dead last in the poll here. But just in front of him, not by much, again, a massive, massive surprise for me was Trent Alexander-Arnold, because again, the scores that he can bring in when fit and available playing for Liverpool are basically second to none. But with both of them being the two most expensive defenders, this is another thing that Sorare scouts and managers are very, very clear on and in uniform agreement on, is that in defence, points per pound, bang for your money. In defence, you can get a lot more, or you can get a similar amount at the very, very least without spending as much. Josko Guardiola was number 3 in the poll here at £25, a fraction at the price of either or of the Liverpool defenders. And if he can maintain his form, even just by starting in the City team, you can see at £25 versus Van Dijk and Trent at double and treble the price of him. He's got the same potential to score as well as them. Maybe not quite got the 100s in him that Trent does, but 85.91, you'll love to see it. And you might be able to see where this was going. Second in the voting was Kieran Trippier. Now, he might have been number 1 for me at £10 for a guy like this, when fit and available, does have that 100 capability. I think he is the number 1 defender pick here. Currently injured right now, which is maybe why he did finish in second. But again, when we're thinking about the poster child of, you know, points per pound, you don't need to spend a lot to get a lot on Sorare. If you really know your onions and you really look around for, you know, high value players to a team in this kind of SO5 fantasy football arena, it is Lewis Dunk, who at £5, the bargain basement defender here, ticks all the boxes. Now, he does have the potential to kill you in a game week with a 12 or a 14 or something. But when he's got this much ability to make a game week for you, I think you can probably just about accept that at £5. Now, midfield for me on Sorare is where I get a lot of excitement in terms of like scouting players, trying to get players that are a little bit undervalued and maybe, you know, not getting the European worldwide recognition that maybe I think they're deserving of. And a player that has really started to shoot out and get all that prominence recently in the midfield role is Kobbie Mainoo. Looks like he'll be going to the Euros with England, Man United breakout player of the year probably, etc, etc. He actually finished dead last. He picked up no votes in this, sadly. In that £25 bracket here for a midfielder, there was maybe another choice or two that could have been in ahead of him, but I did feel for how young he is and like for his good games, when he does get a decisive, gets a goal there away to Wolves, and he gets his goal here in the Liverpool match, he does break into those 80s, 78. And like we've seen with some other players that we'll come to talk about, those are the scores you need. You don't need a guy that can just bring in 50 to 62 every week. Those guys can be okay for maybe like your second or your third team when you're playing Premier League Classic or in season, whatever it is you're up to. But if you're a numero uno team, you do need a guy that can hit those bigger scores, you know. So maybe not for your main team. Quite surprised, but Kobbie Mainoo received no votes in this poll. So maybe he's a developmental player you maybe need to keep your eye on. Maybe wait for his price to come down a little bit. Because João Gomez in the £5 category is a bit more of the finished article. Has that potential with a decisive to break into the high 70s. But more regularly, like if he is in your second or your third team, he's definitely not going to let you down. He was second last in the voting. Players looking to take the midfield budget to then maybe get a more expensive goalkeeper or attacker. But he was, you know, more popular than Mainoo, certainly, just with the regularity and the consistency that he's got for Wolves this year. Very key player for them. Now, again, looking at the quality of the players, the prices available, we see a really interesting thing come out from Sorare scouts and managers across the world, with Martin Odegaard being third in this pool. Now, he has got scores that will win any division in the right game week, undoubtedly. But for his price point, other players were preferred. I think obviously DB Martinez got a lot of votes, and we'll see how Son does as well. Odegaard is a fantastic midfielder for me because he does have a little bit of underrated defensive qualities about him, to get a little interception, to win a few duels, maybe nick the odd tackle. We obviously know how destructive he can be in attack. And for midfielders, for me, this is the sort of midfielder I want in my team. A guy that can do a bit of everything but is quite attack capable. You know, they're involved in the final third. They do have a real chance of getting that assist, of getting that goal, depending on the bounce of the ball and the flow of the match. But second in the vote, fantasy football legend James Ward-Prowse comes into this reckoning, because at the price point you find him at on Sorare at the moment, around £10 for the limited card, he has those peaks because he takes those set pieces for West Ham. He's not as regularly high scoring as like an Odegaard, or who finishes top of this list, of course. But at £10, he is undeniable, similar to Lewis Dunk, points per pound, high value quality that you can really use across the whole season, as well as at the business end of it now, where winners and losers are decided, and you need big players to step up in big matches. A guy that you know takes set pieces and just then has that potential to swing a ball in for a header at the back post and get that assist and have the big week where they bring in an 81 or a 92. It's always great to get, and at £10, he's a very worthy runner-up. But the guy that finished tippy top will not surprise you. This is where everyone went big on budget. The number one best voted player in the poll across all categories, etc., was Cole Palmer with an L15 of 71, an L5 of 85. The numbers speak for themselves. He is unreal. He is performing the same way that Oscar does in China. You know, he is absolutely ripping it up, taking penalties, scoring goals for fun, doing it all, being everything to all men out there. And it really does speak to how little we've seen on the vote for Ederson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, because across the midfield category here, like, Palmer is a touch above everyone else on current form. And I think if you were building a fantasy team then now, regardless of the budget, you have to be looking at Cole Palmer with those scores, because especially if you are brand new and you get a £50 credit, you're only paying half price for that, essentially, on instant buyer from the primary market. And it's scores like that, coupled with some of the other players that we've seen so far, are going to get you into the top end of the leaderboard. With the exception of Ivo Grbic, the player that received the fewest votes across all categories was Erling Braut Haaland. Now, he is the top tier striker in this, and he does deliver goals on a regular basis. But for how many goals he scores and for how good Man City are, he does have his critics in the fantasy football community that he maybe doesn't do enough outside of scoring goals. But he does have a great level of consistency there, and the peaks are there once in a while, I suppose. Maybe not regular enough to be in that top tier price banding, but virtually no one picked up Haaland in this vote at all. And especially under Ole Glasner in current form, when you see the price and the form of Jean-Philippe Mateta, it's kind of hard to argue why you would pick a Haaland over a Mateta, certainly right now. Just as capable of picking up that 60, 63 point with a goal or an assist or whatever. And we've started to see, 81 there against West Ham. Under Glasner, their football starting to really kick into gear. He seems to be a really key part of it. And to be at the totally opposite end of the scale from Haaland, it feels like he's a thinking man's buy in that regard. So I can see why Mateta got way more of the vote than Haaland. In third position, we've kind of got just a better version of Mateta in terms of fantasy football, and Dominic Solanke. Bournemouth have had generally a kind of better season than Crystal Palace. They're both around the same kind of zone in the Premier League. But we know that Solanke takes the penalties for them. He's been a bit more consistent this year. He has actually broke a 93 this season already. And, it does feel like him in Bournemouth, the only way is up at the moment in terms of form and career progression. So I get why, especially at the age of 26, he could be preferred to a Mateta and a Haaland, especially when we're looking at how much they cost. But again, a fantasy football hero to football fans all over the world, Heung-min Son, came in second in this poll, and his scores are fairly undeniable. And when we look at every player per position, he is definitely one of the standout players we've got available to us here. Being in that £50 price category, it's interesting because so many people chose Martinez over Son as well as Odegaard, favouring that, solidarity in goals, and maybe being able to buy other scores in the outfield with your budget, being a wee bit more free with your budget for outfield, knowing that your goalkeeper is going to bank and deliver, and you're not going to need to, get a better defender, this kind of thing. And there was not much in it. Maybe Son should have took it. Let me know in the comment sections what you think. But the number one forward was Anthony Gordon. Now, Anthony Gordon, I've been a huge admirer of on this channel for a long, long time. And on Sorare, this is the sort of graph, like we've said this before with one or two other players in the video, that is a winner. This is a guy that wins cards. This is a guy that wins money. Now, he doesn't do it every week, as you can see here, but when he scores a big score, it is a big score. He really does deliver. He's double decisive capable. He loves taking people on the dribble. He's a huge part of the Newcastle attack. He seems to play every single match as well. And the relationship with him and Isak, I think, is only getting better week on week. He was the top voted striker in. And if we have a look back at the graph that we had, the most popular 5, so individual players, forget about pick one per row and all the rest of it. Individual players that were selected by Sorare scouts and managers in their teams. We had Dibu Martinez, the #1 goalkeeper. We had Lewis Dunk, the #1 defender. Cole Palmer, the #1 player overall in midfield. Anthony Gordon in attack, alongside Hyung-Sung Min. Now, for me, that is an amazing team. And if we look at the graph, that 5-man team would cost £205. And with your Sorare market credits or whatever coming off of it, you obviously get a £50 discount on that, which I think is actually pretty healthy when you look at it. Lewis Dunk overall was the most popular player at £5, with Dominic Solanke, the most popular £10 player, just ahead of James Ward-Prowse and Kieran Trippier respectively. Anthony Gordon was the most popular £25 player, and I would be in agreement with that by a long way. The most popular £50 player was Dibu Martinez, and the most popular top tier player, the most popular player period, was Cole Palmer. Thanks to everyone that entered. We've got a lot of the community suggestions that featured on Twitter on screen now for you. Thanks to everyone that entered. There was some great shouts here. A few of you absolutely nailed it as well. Few of these went good as well, picked up a captain and said that there is no other choice in the team I picked, and it was really interesting to see how it all slated out. I hope you enjoyed this one, guys. Don't forget to hit the subscribe button, and on screen there now is some other stuff that I've made that YouTube thinks you might enjoy. Stay out of trouble, and I'll catch you on the next one.